This is The War Empire, a podcast where the past meets the future.
Welcome back to the War Empire podcast. We had so much fun making these episodes for you, and we're bringing you two more that will cover the Greco-Persian Wars. It's funny for us to see just how different each of these wars is and how the Greeks consistently show incredible diligence. Thermopylae, where things looked bleak for the Greeks, was such a powerful story. Now we're back with another tale filled with drama, twists, turns, and a lot of ships. Yes, we're talking about the Battle of Salamis, one of the most significant naval battles of all time and a true turning point in the Greco-Persian Wars. Let's dive into the strategy and naval tactics that changed the course of history. Let's rewind a bit to get the full picture. By the summer of 480 BCE, Persia was in full invasion mode. Xerxes I, king of the Persian Empire, had just won a major victory at Thermopylae in August, and Athens had fallen into Persian hands. The situation was dire for the Greek city-states. Xerxes had a massive army and a fleet to match, and it seemed like Greece might soon be under Persian control. But here's the thing. The Greeks weren't giving up. Their navy, led by the brilliant strategist Themistocles, retreated to the nearby island of Salamis after Thermopylae. They had around 370 triremes, these fast, agile warships built for ramming and boarding enemy vessels. Xerxes, on the other hand, had a fleet of about 800 ships. In terms of numbers, the Greeks were seriously outmatched. But Themistocles had a plan. One of the key things to understand about the Battle of Salamis is how much geography played a role. The battle took place in the narrow straits between the island of Salamis and the Athenian port of Piraeus. This tight space would end up being a game changer for the Greeks. You see, the Persian fleet was much larger, but in such a confined area, they couldn't spread out or maneuver as effectively. Themistocles knew this, and he decided to use the terrain to his advantage. Here's where it gets really clever. Themistocles sent a fake message to Xerxes, making him believe that the Greek forces were disorganized and planning to retreat. Xerxes, eager to finish the Greeks off after Thermopylae, fell for it. He ordered his fleet to move in, expecting an easy victory. No, was that Themistocles had lured him into a trap. On the morning of the battle in September 480 BCE, the Persian ships entered the narrow straits of Salamis, thinking they were about to chase down a retreating enemy. Instead, they found themselves caught in a chaotic, cramped space. Themistocles' plan was working perfectly. The Greek ships, which were smaller and faster, had the upper hand in these conditions. The battle quickly turned into a frenzy of ramming, boarding, and close-quarters combat. Greek triremes smashed into Persian ships, using their bronze rams to puncture the hulls and sink them. The narrow waters made it difficult for the larger Persian ships to maneuver, and soon they were crashing into each other as well as the Greek fleet. It wasn't just brute force at play here. The Greeks were using superior tactics. They knew the waters, they knew how to handle their ships in close quarters, and they worked together in disciplined formations. Meanwhile, the Persian fleet, although much larger, struggled to coordinate in the chaos. By midday, the tide had completely turned in favor of the Greeks. Persian ships were sinking left and right, and their numbers, which had seemed overwhelming at first, became a disadvantage in the cramped straits. Out of the estimated 800 Persian ships, the Greeks managed to sink or capture about 300. And how many ships did the Greeks lose? Only around 40. Xerxes, who had been watching the battle unfold from his throne on a nearby hill, was in disbelief. His once invincible navy was being torn apart by a much smaller Greek force. This wasn't just a military loss. It was a massive blow to his entire invasion strategy. After the battle, the Persian fleet was in shambles, and Xerxes had to make a tough decision. He couldn't risk losing more of his forces, so he decided to retreat back to Asia, leaving a smaller portion of his army behind to continue the fight in Greece. This was a huge turning point. The victory at Salamis wasn't just a tactical win for the Greeks. It was a psychological one as well. It gave the Greek city-states the confidence and unity they needed to continue resisting the Persian advance. Themistocles became the hero of the hour, and rightly so. His strategy at Salamis proved that superior tactics and knowledge of the terrain could beat sheer numbers. It was a classic underdog story. one that demonstrated how even the mightiest empires could be defeated with the right approach. The Battle of Salamis did more than just safeguard the independence of Greece. It cemented the future of Western civilization. If Persia had conquered Greece, it's possible that Athenian democracy, philosophy, and the cultural blossoming that followed in the centuries to come would have been suppressed or altered by Persian rule. This naval victory ensured that the unique political and cultural development of Greece would flourish, impacting everything from the Roman Empire to modern Western governance and thought. Salamis wasn't just important for the immediate outcome of the war, it also marked one of the earliest and most decisive naval battles in history. This was a time when naval warfare was still evolving, and the Greeks showed how a well-trained, well-coordinated fleet could dominate a larger, less organized one. Their trireme design, built for speed and maneuverability, became a model for future naval strategies. What's also fascinating is how the victory at Salamis paved the way for further Greek successes. After this, the Persians were on the back foot. The next year, in 479 BCE, the Greeks would go on to defeat the Persian land forces at the Battle of Plataea, effectively ending Persia's ambitions in Greece. Here's a fun tidbit. One of the reasons the Greeks could handle their ships so well was because of their design. Triremes were equipped with 3 rows of oars on each side, giving them incredible speed and agility. These weren't just floating platforms for soldiers, they were purpose-built war machines designed to outmaneuver larger ships. And let's not forget Themistocles' clever mind game. That false message he sent to Xerxes, tricking him into attacking early. It's one of the earliest examples of psychological warfare in naval history. And there you have it, the Battle of Salamis, where the underdog Greeks turned the tables on the mighty Persian Empire. It's a story of strategy, deception, and the power of a well-executed plan. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most pivotal naval battles in history. If this episode has sparked your interest in more ancient history or naval warfare, stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll explore the incredible story of the Battle of Plataea.